In May of 2011, a game was released. A game unlike any other game. A game that, through its uniqueness, has built up a reputation by a select few people as being one of their favourite games of all time. I'm one such person, and the game, it's LA Noire. As the title says, LA Noire truly is a game like no other, not just through its gameplay, but through its entire developmental process. LA Noire was seemingly for the most part a passion project from Team Bondi, a dev team who began working on the game shortly after their creation in 2004. However, after Rockstar gained publishing rights to the game in 2006, the project blossomed into a treasure of a game, with both Team Bondi and Rockstar Studios working in collaboration on it. The game, at its roots, is a detective thriller based in 1947 LA. This was a time post-World War II that saw the United States as a whole have an economic boom, despite many social issues underlying the general population. And LA Noire does an amazing job of showing this, not just through its gameplay and missions, but through the city as a whole. Rockstar and Team Bondi strive to give an accurate portrayal of the city, modelling the city's buildings, roads and traffic patterns from real-life aerial photos. As well as this, the team based many of the cases in the game around real-life crimes from the time, bringing a sense of realism to a genre that's often filled with unbelievable coincidence. Whilst being a detective thriller game, LA Noire doesn't really feel like a game at all. It feels far more like an interactive TV show, similar to the likes of Castle, The Bridges, and Twin Peaks. Not only does it have an episodic format in the form of cases, but it also splits these cases into a sort of seasonal structure, as Cole Phelps, the protagonist of the game, goes through 4 separate branches of the LAPD, all set in different parts of the city and all containing different characters. The most significant part of LA Noire's development was the creation and implementation of motion scan technology, which at the time had never been used before. A system developed by a side company of Team Bondi, Depth Analysis, the motion scan feature was one of the biggest selling points of the game. The technology basically involved recording each actor at 32 different angles, basically capturing every angle of their face on video, and then mapping these videos around the 3D models in the game. At the time, this was incredible, as it gave some of the most realistic facial animations ever seen in gaming, and it was pretty perfectly implemented for the interrogation gameplay mechanic, which we'll get to later. But there was a lot of uncanny valley moments when it came to this technology. Overall, the development cost of the game came in at about $50 million, which makes it one of the most expensive games made not just at the time, but ever. On a whole, the game was met with a positive reception after its release in 2011, receiving 5-star reviews and 9 out of 10 ratings. Despite good critical reception though, it did divide the masses in the everlasting argument in gaming, which is, of course, gameplay versus story. LA Noire is one of my favourite narratives of all time, not just in gaming, but just in media as a whole. And before you scream that's just because of nostalgia is not a bad thing, so chill out. The game starts with an opening monologue from Herschel Biggs, who appears later in the game. He gives a speech surrounding the city of LA, and to the player it almost feels like an ad campaign to move there, as he describes the American dream that La La Land provides. As he goes on though, he becomes more pessimistic, as a darker undertone underlays the shining sun and the jazz music. And then Biggs lays out the key themes surrounding the entire narrative of the game. Not everything is as it seems. And with that, we're placed into the shoes of fresh-faced police officer Cole Phelps, Someone who plays by the rules, a supposed war hero turned golden boy who set out on a path to clean up the city. But as Big said, not everything is as it seems. We go through the game, completing cases which for the most part are insular, however do often have serialized elements, mainly through the newspaper mechanic. Throughout the game, the player can find a number of newspapers that give cutscenes that show the true stories behind the headlines, giving the player more insight of what's truly going on. A key part of the story is the flashbacks to wartime. We see Cole, as well as Jack Kelso, from the time they sign up to the army to the end of the war. It's clear from the very beginning that the two characters are almost opposite in personality, and we see Cole, who's meant to be the protagonist of the game, as a self-centered dickhead seeking glory and wanting to be seen as a hero. We see that Cole was an awful military officer, largely due to his obsession with doing things by the book. Eventually, this straight-line style of leadership led Cole to order his troops to forcibly clear out a cave, which is later revealed to be a hospital. Cole commits a literal war crime, and although it's been critiqued that this reveal came too late in the game, it still hits the player hard. After the war, however, Cole is congratulated as a war hero, and undeservingly receives a Silver Star medal for hiding in a hole on Bunker Hill until the fighting was done, being one of the few to survive, but doing so through cowardice. Due to this, Cole joining the LAPD can be looked at from a variety of angles, whether it's to redeem his actions in wartime or to seek out more glory. Beginning the game as a supposed clean-nosed Boy Scout, it's made clear quickly that Cole is much less of a hero than meets the eye. This comes in a specific scene in which Roy Earl takes Cole and his traffic partner for a drink. Roy Earl eventually becomes Cole's partner, and he is the scummiest, most obnoxiously prickish person in the entire game. Prickish? Is that a word? A racist, sexist, corrupt, backstabbing pig? Wow, that sounds a bit harsh, but I mean, it's kind of true. In my opinion, Roy Earl is Rockstar and Team Bondi's personification of what the city of LA truly was beneath the glitz and the glamour. Anyway, back to the scene.
Like a table, Roy.
What do you think we want to do? Stand at the bar like
I'll
chumps?
get a table ready for you then.
Don't look so happy to see me, Alphonse. I might get the wrong impression. Cole, this is Alphonse. He's a French Negro from Africa. Can you beat that?
The Congo.
A pleasure to meet you, Alphonse. Is Elsa singing tonight?
There she is. She has the next set.
Come on, Cole. You can meet Elsa while they're fixing us a table. You'll like her. She's something else.
Maybe another night, Roy. She's pretty beat up about it.
Get your hands off me. Don't ever tell me what to do or what not to do, Alphonse. Hi, Elsa. Here's someone I'd like you to meet. Cole Phelps, war hero and crime fighter extraordinaire.
And why would I want to meet another fascist from the LAPD?
Sorry about this, Cole. What an evening I'm having. First a Negro puts his hands on me, and then this. Who do you think you're talking to, you German junkie whore?
Despite Roy being completely out of line in the scene, Cole steps back, to stay silent, knowing that Roy is influential in the LAPD, and to get on his bad side may cost Cole future glory. We see Cole how he really is, a hypocritical, selfish coward, only willing to criticize when it benefits himself. As we go through the game, however, Cole's Golden Boy act becomes unravelled. After his affair is exposed by who else but Roy Earl, after he's shamed by the media, after he's left by his wife and children, Cole comes out a new man, a redeemed man. And we see how much his character has transformed in his next confrontation with Roy.
Get away from him, Phelps. This is my case.
Shut your fucking mouth! Since when does a bagman work a case?
I knew this creep wasn't on the morphine heist. Victim of his own product.
Hey, detective! Can we back it off a notch? This is getting out of hand.
There's a time to talk and a time to shut up. Now is the time to be quiet, son.
Courtney Sheldon was a corpsman, Roy. He served his country. He went out with a medical kit and an Army 45 into places that made the Valley of Death look like a picnic. He was either naive enough or dumb enough to get involved in the Suburban Redevelopment Fund, along with the mayor, the DA, Monroe, and a certain crooked cop. He was involved in the morphine heist, but he has a puncture wound in his jugular, which makes this a murder case. He was a better man than you'll ever know. You say one more word about him and I will blow your fucking head off!
Cole becomes less obsessed with his image being perceived heroically and truly sets out to, well, as Elsa says earlier in the game, make the world a better place.
Try and make the world a better place.
Brave words, very noble. But words are just words.
And through this change of heart, Cole uncovers the true corruption in the system, and he, with the help of Elsa, enlists Jack Kelso to help rid of said corruption. Jack, from the first time the player sees him in the game to the end, is everything Cole is trying to achieve. Unfazed by glory, Jack truly wants to make the world a better place, and we see throughout the game his true heroism and nobility. But despite his righteousness, he's always left at the bottom, being demoted in the army, being fired from his PI job, being beaten up, and being kidnapped. And this contrast between Jack and Cole really underlines the theme of corruption in the game, how not everything is as it seems. Whilst Kelso is constantly suppressed for genuinely doing the right thing, Cole is constantly promoted, praised, and glorified for playing by the rules of those who want to push their own agenda. We begin to see cracks in Cole's obedience throughout the game, however. After Phelps successfully discovers a serial killer, all his findings are censored due to the murderer having family ties to government officials. We see Cole begin to question the system he's a part of, and as he uncovers the corruption within the system, the manipulation of the truth for the benefits of the powerful, we see him make the decision to give up everything for what's right, sacrificing himself and finally, truly becoming the hero he set out to be. However, this sacrifice is soured soon after. Despite all this happened, we finish the game seeing that Cole died in vain. We see who else but Roy Earl give his funeral speech. We see the police captain and the mayor sitting next to him, all of whom were involved in the scandal. They got off free, still very much in power. Despite all that the player has done, all that Cole and Jack have done in an attempt to right the city's wrongs, that those in power will come out on top. We are left with the message that corruption is an unstoppable evil, and as we see the US flag, the screen fades to black. Cole Phelps is an incredibly flawed and conflicted character, and in my opinion, Team Bondi wrote his character perfectly. As for the rest of the narrative, nearly every single individual case is engaging and interesting. My favourite thing about the layout of each case is the sense of player agency, as when you go through each case it does feel as if you can figure out the culprit yourself. Despite this, the game can also feel very restrictive, not allowing the player to continue with a case until they found a specific item or done a specific interrogation. But that is one of the issues when creating a half-linear, half-open world game. On a whole, the entire narrative of L.A. Noire is a thrilling ride of mystery, and is able to really perfect the balance between engaging characters and individual cases. Every performance in the game is fantastic, which is kind of amazing considering the huge cast. Each case is written and designed with care, and Team Bondi showed that games can compete with some of the best detective TV shows out there. So, you know how earlier I mentioned gameplay versus story? Well, L.A. Noire should really be at the forefront of this argument. There are many people who absolutely hate L.A. Noire due to the gameplay structure of it. Originally marketed as a similar format to the Grand Theft Auto games, L.A. Noire strayed very far from the typical Rockstar setup, and really didn't have any comparable gameplay experiences to speak of. Unlike many games, the gameplay of L.A. Noire was built around the narrative, and not the other way around. Whilst there are still car chases and shootouts, the crux of the gameplay is investigation and interrogation. The interrogation system has been widely criticised, not necessarily due to its features, but more due to Cole Phelps' responses to prompts. This is because, in original development, the 3 interrogation options were coax, force and lie, but these were changed after most scenes had already been filmed. This leads to many hilarious, but also immersion-breaking situations, in which a player might choose the doubt option but end up screaming at the person being interrogated. This was somewhat fixed in the remaster, with Rockstar making it good cop, bad cop and lie, but in my opinion, they should have just left in the original system. Another hugely criticised part of the game is the gunplay. I'm never doing that again. Anyway, Rockstar's gunplay has been criticised to all hell in every single one of their games, so I'ma leave that be for now. One major thing I think brings the game down, however, is the open world. Despite the amazing recreation of 1940s LA, the open world very often feels unnecessary, with a lack of side activities other than extremely scripted street crimes. Luckily though, the player can get their partner to drive to locations, eliminating potential wasted time spending 5 minutes going from point A to point B. It's clear that the game was entirely designed to be linear, and despite how well Rockstar created the open world, it does kind of feel pointless. On a whole, if as a player you lean towards needing exciting gameplay for you to enjoy a game, then Noire may not be to your liking. But as a game that was designed to be narratively focused, the main features of gameplay aren't completely horrible. After the release of Noire, the lead director of the game insinuated that a sequel could be on the horizon, saying that Team Bondi were looking at implementing motion scan on full bodies, and that a sequel would take 5 years less than the development of the original. However, in August of the same year, despite their success, Team Bondi was bought out, and despite rumours of another project from the dev team named Horror of the Orient, the game was confirmed to be cancelled in 2016. After only one game and a huge amount of success, Team Bondi were disbanded. And despite calls to Rockstar for a sequel to Noire, there's been very little in the way of another release. Although saying that Noire was quote unquote important to the company, the remaster of the game in 2017 seems to be the last hurrah for the franchise. Who knows though, I mean Rockstar took what, 8 years to release Red Dead 2? In like 2022 we could just get Noire 2 out of nowhere. But in my opinion, Noire works as a single standalone game that was able to rise... That probably wasn't the right hand gesture. Noire works perfectly as a standalone game that was able to rise above the rest, not based on brand identity, not based on a name, not based on a sequel, but based on a genuinely great narrative and gameplay experience. It's a game that's stuck with me since I first played it 8 years ago, and despite being probably far too young to be playing it at the time, it really has had an impact on me that's lasted to this day. That's why I'm making this video. Despite, having mechanical and technical flaws, Noire is an experience that I'd really recommend to anyone that's never played it, and it truly is a game like no other. Thanks for watching.
Well, I love the chase till the minute I win it. A beautiful face till there's love for me in it. Give me your heart and baby I'll bill it, 'cause I always kill the thing